Now at 4, Noblesville flood victims in the Southside Park neighborhood expressed their frustrations directly to the city. We'll tell you how the mayor responded.
And if you're impacted by the flooding and looking to hire a contractor, watch this first. Ahead, I'll tell you what's the deal with how to verify a license, plus best hiring practices from the Indiana Attorney General.
And a much quieter pattern is emerging. That's not to say we're completely rain-free. We'll talk about what we can expect for the weekend forecast.
Hey everybody, glad to have you with us on a Friday afternoon. Welcome to 13 News at 4. I'm Dustin Grove.
And I'm Felicia Lawrence, and we actually have some new developments here in central Indiana today as communities work to clean up from last week's flooding.
We'll get to the latest on the state's request for emergency federal aid because we know so many people are waiting for that financial help. But we begin in Noblesville, where city leaders listened to residents who lost nearly everything.
I mean, close to 100 people showed up to Southside Park to express their concerns. Ella Rhodes was there.
People who live in the Southside Park neighborhood said they were glad to hear from the mayor face to face, but they want to know what actions will be taken so their neighborhood doesn't flood so quickly next time. In a Q&A style discussion, residents directly asked city employees, including engineers, police, and the fire department, their questions. From renters who need repairs with out-of-state owners to concerns with infrastructure and residents not receiving notifications to evacuate. A major concern for people is this pedestrian tunnel built in 2024 that leads to a walkway along the White River. People say that led floodwaters in insanely fast and earlier than normal. City engineers acknowledged that the tunnel did create that problem. Noblesville Mayor Chris Jensen said they plan to take a closer look at the issue.
The biggest thing for me today is to hear the human side of this, to hear from folks about what their homes are looking like, what they're, they've lost everything in some instances, and to hear that is really important for elected leaders to hear so we can react appropriately.
The city plans to host more community conversations like this. Noblesville Mayor Chris Jensen encouraged people with flood damage to reach out to 211. In Noblesville, Ella Rhodes, 13 News.
Noblesville is moving into the damage assessment phase as that city continues to dry out. And we've learned the Hamilton County Council just approved $2.8 million in flood recovery funding. Almost all of that will go toward debris removal. The rest will cover emergency needs like temporary housing, equipment, and supplies. The county's also letting people know debris cleanup has to follow FEMA guidelines for any reimbursement. So if you want to try and be reimbursed, make sure and read through those guidelines before you hire somebody on your own.
And speaking of hiring, we know working with contractors, specifically for your flood damaged home, can be stressful.
And hiring the wrong person can even add more stress and costs. Allison Gormley joins us now to talk about what's the deal with hiring repair crews. Allison?
Yeah, a lot of people trying to make sure they don't get gypped here. So you actually talked to the Attorney General about this?
Yeah, he was out and about in Newcastle today looking around, and after the recent flooding, a lot of people are getting back to their home, maybe today, a few days ago, and they're getting that process started of looking at even in hiring a contractor. And it's important to research your contractor and find out whether or not they need a license to perform the work. For example, some contractor licenses are handled at a local level, like the county or the city, while other licenses, including plumbing, are handled by the state. If it's a state license, you can look it up through the state's licensing, which you can see right here. As for a deposit on the job, Attorney General Todd Rokita suggests putting down as little as possible. And if you do have to pay a deposit, use a credit card.
I would not give the down payment, if at all possible, until the day they show up for their first day of work. And if a company really needs a down payment to pay its workers or to get materials, it's on shoestrings to begin with. So that might be a red flag there.
And I'll be posting the state licensing as well as a couple of the municipalities, including Indianapolis, on our WTHR flooding page.
Okay.
Yeah, some really good reminders there, just because you're trying to figure out how to proceed. Of course you want to save money, but if they can guarantee some work and stand behind it, that's the way to go.
Well, and it's difficult because a lot of them are going to be busy, so your options are going to be limited, and it might not be having the luxury of choosing from 5. Yeah. You may only have 2 that you can pick from.
And the suggestion about the credit card is to make sure that if something happens, you can get that money potentially back easier than if you gave cash.
Correct,
or a check.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Jeez.
Thanks, Allison.
All right. Thank you. Also today, Governor Mike Braun told us he is asking for an expedited major disaster declaration from FEMA. So this would include 54 counties across Indiana, and that would unlock federal aid for Hoosiers still suffering from historic flood impacts. This comes as state and local agencies are going door to door, documenting damage to people's homes and businesses. The request could take 1 to 3 weeks to approve. If federal aid is not approved, the governor believes the state is in a position to cover the recovery work.
So much recovery work going on right now. Thankfully, Rob, no more rain, so we've got dry conditions to get out there and clean up.
It's good news. It's not to say our rain chance is 0. There is a small chance we could see a couple of showers overnight, but really the pattern is going to be much drier. The 7-day forecast has very few rain chances in it, which is good news. We need this chance to dry out. Temperatures may cool down a bit as well.
Yeah, we're not saying washouts.
Yeah, oh, absolutely not. Nothing like that. Overnight tonight, watch for a couple of showers. Let me show you where we are currently. It's really all about the temperatures at this point. 83 at the airport. There's some mid to upper 80s showing up there. 85 in Fishers currently. Most of these locations definitely enjoying a nice day today. A little bit of a west wind has kicked in. That has helped to maybe push the temperatures up just a bit. 86 for Bedford. It's one of our warmer locations at the moment. Slightly cooler air to the north. I do think that we'll watch a couple of light showers push through the northern part of the state. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings have been popping up farther to the north and west. And sometime overnight tonight, we'll have to watch that same area, northern parts of Illinois, to see if any of those showers move our way. But we really think this is going to be a dry pattern, at least in the long term, with any rain chances being on the smaller side. So through this evening, very nice forecast for this evening. Bit on the warmer side for the early part of the evening, but as we get into the overnight, temperatures should cool down into the 70s and eventually make it into the 60s overnight. There is that chance of some showers or storms for tonight, and as additional clouds move in, I don't know that we'll be able to make it much below the mid 60s, or maybe a couple of locations where we do see the temperatures try to get closer to the upper 50s, but really mid 60s I think are going to be a good starting point for tomorrow. And then tomorrow's looking pretty good. It is one of our days that has a higher rain chance, but most of the day should be rain free. Any pop-ups that do come through should move quickly enough. It's on the lower side, about a 20 to 30% chance, and the high temperatures tomorrow should go up to around the low to mid 80s. Now we do have slightly lower humidity in our forecast as well that's going to move in. I'll talk about that coming up.
Okay, and today a judge sentenced a man for murdering another man outside an Indianapolis bar last summer. A jury convicted Caden Douglas of murder last month for shooting Jeremy Dillingham outside the Mucky Duck pub on the city's south side. Well, today, a judge sentenced Douglas to 55 years in prison. Prosecutors argued the evidence showed Douglas repeatedly escalated tensions throughout the night. Prosecutors also say Douglas remained in the parking lot after being thrown out and used the N-word, knowing it would provoke a reaction from Dillingham. Douglas said he would appeal his sentence.
Time is ticking in the recount battle between State Senator Spencer Deary and his primary challenger, Paula Copenhaver. That recount commission overturned the close results last week, handing the win to Copenhaver, but Deary is appealing that decision to the Supreme Court. We talked about it for this weekend's episode of Crossroads Politics. What does this appeal really hinge on, do you think?
Well, in this narrow victory, we're talking about 6 ballots, and these are 6 ballots that did not have the clerk's seal and signature on them. There were 4 other ballots that did not have the initials of the election workers. Those were tossed out. Those are not in dispute. Deary says, yes, they should have been tossed out.
Okay.
But in the 6 ballots for the clerk's seal and signature, that's what's in dispute.
And this is all to get onto the ballot for November, and then we've got the midterm election itself in November to come.
Right, and we've got deadlines coming up.
Right.
So today is when the candidates are certified. So technically, because of the recount, Ms. Copenhaver is the certified candidate, Republican nominee for Senate District 23. But we have a little bit of window here because the 19th of September is when the ballots have to start mailing out.
You can watch the full conversation on an all-new Crossroads Politics with Emily and myself, streaming Sunday morning at 10 or on demand on our free WTHR streaming app.
All right, thanks, Dustin. Well, today, Governor Braun unveiled commemorative Freedom 250 road signs. They're meant to continue the celebration of the nation's 250th birthday. Look at this. 20 signs will be installed over the next week along Interstate 70 and US 30. The signs also honor the 70th anniversary of the Eisenhower Interstate System and 100 years of the Lincoln Highway, US 30, the first transcontinental road in the U.S. Little history for you, Rob.
Yeah, and most of those roads should remain dry as we get into the weekend. There is a slight chance for some showers to arrive overnight and into your Saturday. I'll cover that for you coming up.
Nearly 21,000 people in Gary are going on 11 days without power. I'm Emily Longnecker. Tonight, Gary's mayor is demanding faster action, the latest on the fight to get the lights back on.